Hello, and welcome to part 4 of our landing page project. My name is Will Brooks, and my mission is to make coding fun and easy to learn. In today's video, we will be adding font awesome icons, media query to make our page responsive so it looks good on computers as well as mobile devices. We will use the input tag to create an email box. We will add our call to action button, and finally our secret ingredient to make the hyperlinks work. So without further ado, let's get to coding. So now with the front end stack, which I'm excited it's our last section, let's go down to section here and let's hit 2 spaces because we need to put in our comment out. And I'm just going to open this up because we're going to work here in HTML. It might be easier to see. So let's comment out this right here and let's call this front end stack. Great, not going to show up on our site. We just want to keep everything orderly. And then we're going to create a section for this last group here. And then we're going to create a div that's going to go around this whole group here as well. It's going to be this last section, front end stack, is going to have 3 different groups, HTML, CSS, and JS. So after that, we're going to create another div that's going to be just in this group. And then we're going to do a p tag, and we're going to call that HTML. And then after that, we're going to get another font awesome icon. So we're going to wrap that in a div. And we're not going to put that in yet, but it's going to go right in there. And then after that, we're going to do a unordered list. And in there, we're just going to have highlights of what HTML can do. So we're going to have 5 list items. Now, remember that shortcut I showed you? We do li, and that's in VS Code, and the # sign, and we're going to do 5 and then return. Now, if you're not working in VS Code, don't have that shortcut, all you have to do is type in 5 LIs. That's fine as well. So the first one is headings. And then the next one is going to be paragraphs. Everything that you can do in HTML. After paragraphs, we're going to have links. And then footers. And then we're going to say much more. And that's it. That's it for the first section on HTML. So now all we have to do is copy and paste from this div here that wraps in this one group. From this div, we're going to copy and paste it 2 more times for the CSS and JavaScript. So let's just copy that 2 more times. Once, twice. Great. And now we're just going to change the title here from HTML. And let's just change that to CSS. And then we need to change the categories as well. We'll start with layout here. And go down to the next one. Let's erase that. And let's put colors. All things you can do with CSS plus much more. And then let's change that one to fonts. And then let's change it to borders. And then much more we're going to keep the same. Great. And let's go down to here and let's change that one as well. And we'll go JavaScript. We'll just say JS. And then the categories. And let's see, categories will be interactive pages, number 1. So let's change this. Okay, and then we'll have display animations. Next will be drop-down menus. All things you can do. And then browser games. And much more we're going to keep. And that is it. So we are just about finished. Now let's go back up here and to our, we haven't put in our front end stack. So we need to put at the top here under section, we need to add H2 right under the section. Let's go H2 because we need to put our title here and we're going to call that front end stack. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do here before we go to CSS is we need to add the ID because remember we want to link that to our header. So let's do H2 H2 there, good. And then let's do a ID in here. and we're going to do ID equals, and then front end, and then underscore stack, because that's what we had at the top, so we can link it. Great, and now we're ready for CSS. I realized we haven't actually looked at the code yet, so let's look at what we just did in HTML. And let me just minimize this here. So what we did was we created the front end stack right there, and then created HTML, CSS, and JS, and all the different features that go along with that. We need to do one more thing before we go to CSS. We need to get our font awesome icons, and we're going to get one for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I'm going to go here to Chrome, and let's maximize this here. And let's just put in, again, font awesome. Here we go, font awesome. And click on here. We already have it in our head, so we're fine. I'm going to click on icons at the top. And I am going to type in HTML because I want the HTML icon. And then it's right here. So I'll click on this, and then I will click on here to copy it. So let's go out of here, and let's go minimize this. And then I'm going to paste it right here in the HTML with the div right there. You see that on line 115? I'm going to just paste it right in there. There we go. And you can kind of see it on the right side over here. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. We're going to do FA-2X. We want to make it 2 times the height, 2 times the size. Right there. Good. Now let's go grab our CSS. Go back into Font Awesome. And let's type in CSS, return. And let's grab the CSS one right here. And then copy it. Right there. It's copied. And let's go back to over here, and then CSS, and then let's paste it in between the 2 divs there. Great, and let's see if we can see it there. Yes, there it is. And let's just put a little space in there, and we'll do FA-2X, 2 times the size, and there we go. And then we need JavaScript. So back to Font Awesome, and let's type in JS. And there we go, JS. Let's use this one right here, and then let's copy it, and let's go out of here, and then go down to JavaScript. See how easy it is to use the Font Awesome icons, and then let's paste it right in there. And then let's go back to our landing page, and there it is down there, and let's make it 2 times larger, so FA-2X. And great, so we have that. So now we can actually go into our CSS and start styling it. You can see what it looks like right there. We got the 3 icons right there. Great. So the first thing I want to do in CSS is I want to style this div here that's right under the front end stack there, and I want to style this div that encompasses all 3 groups, HTML, CSS, and one more, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It goes all the way down to here. Ends right there. So we want to bring this is like a column right here. We want to bring everything horizontally this way. CSS and JS, we want to bring it up horizontally across. So we're going to go to that div right under the H2, and we're going to put a class there, and we're going to call it stack underscore whole, the whole group. And then let's go to CSS. And the first thing in CSS we want to do is we want to comment out to keep everything the same, and we're going to put front end stack here. Okay, we got front end stack. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do dot stack underscore whole. And what I like to do is I want to show you exactly what we're doing. So let's create that border, which we're going to get rid of. But I want to do not a border radius, but just border. Let's do the border right there. And let's do 3 pixels like normal, like we do, solid, and then red. Okay. And then we can open this up and you'll see exactly what we're looking at. So we're looking at this whole box here. That's what the whole box is right there. That stack whole represents. And so now we want to swing that up, and we want everything going to the right horizontally. So that means we're going to do display flex. And you'll see it all go to the right. There you go. It all goes to the right. And then we're going to put in a flex direction and row. Basically saying the same thing. You can do flex direction row, flex direction column. But once we make this responsive, when it's responsive, if you're looking at it on a smaller device, we want everything to be stacked as a column. So we're going to do flex direction row, and then we want to center everything in the middle and center everything vertically as well. And in order to do that, we use justify content to center it horizontally. And there it goes right in the middle. And then we're going to use justify, we're going to use not justify, but align items center to align it vertically. And let's just open that up. There, and that's what we're going to do right there. So now we need to make that a bit prettier, but that's all we're going to do with that one div with stack whole. Next, we want to go back to HTML, and we're going to style the div group, each individual group. But we're going to do one at a time. We're going to do the first HTML first, and then we'll copy and paste the style. So you see what they do initially to one group, which is the HTML. So we're going to put a div right here, and we're going to call this stack group. And let's put a class, and then stack underscore group. It's our first group here. And then let's go to CSS, and let's add that dot stack underscore group. And then let's do curly bracket. Okay, so now let's move this border from the stack whole. Let's just get rid of that there, and let's put it down in the stack group to see what we're working with. Okay, now you can see, let me open this up. You can see we're just working at the bottom here with the HTML right here. We're not CSS and JavaScript yet. So that's all we're working with right there. Okay, so now we want to do display flex again. And that's going to move everything kind of horizontally. Now we don't want that. We want it to go back. So we're going to change the flex direction. And we're let's see, flex direction. And we're going to say column, so it stacks up vertically. There we go. Right, kind of like what it was, exactly what it was before. But doing that, we're using display flex. Now we can use align items. Align items. Now remember, if it's a row, align items would vertically center it. Now, if it's a flex direction column, it's going to horizontally center it. The opposite. So center. And then you can see it horizontally centered. These, the headings and paragraph, they can't go any further, but HTML and the 5 is centered right in the middle now. Okay, so now we're going to use width, and then width, we're going to use a thing called CALC, calculate. Okay, and then bracket there, and it's going to be 100% of the width, and now remember, we're in the container, and then a / and divided by 3. So basically, that's going to be 33.3%, and we're going to do that with each of them so that evenly they're going to be 33% across horizontally. Let's open that up. You can see what it looks like. See that right there? It's nice and neat, and that's going to be, once we add the class to the CSS and JS, they'll do the same thing. So that's useful to use. And then we're going to put a margin around that. Let's see, margin, and we're going to do 10 pixels around it. And then you can see here, there's 10 pixels at the bottom, 10 pixels all around margin. And the last thing we want to do is put a border. And I'm just going to copy this border here. And let's just get rid of it up there, put it down here. And it's going to be 3 pixels solid, but we're going to change the color. And then I want to just change the color to black. And you can do hashtag 000, that's black. And there we go. And that's what we're going to do. Now, of course, we're going to get rid of all the bullet points and all that other stuff, but that's what we're going to do to the others as well. So let's just add a semicolon there. So now let's style the HTML right there. And let's go into the P tag, and let's put a space and a class. And we're going to call it stack underscore title. Perfect. So now let's go into CSS and dot stack underscore title. And then curly bracket. And we're going to start off with a display flex, like we like to use display flex. And okay, and then we're going to center it, justify content, center. And then now we're going to put in here, we're going to make a background color. So we're going to do a background color. And actually, before we do a background color, let's just so you know, well, actually with the background color, you're going to see what we're working with. So let's do background color. And we're going to do with the background color, hashtag DDD, kind of a light gray. You can see right there, right down there, that's what it looks like there. And then after the background color, we need to do a padding to open it up a little bit. So padding, and let's do 15 pixels from the top and bottom, and then 0 right and left. There, okay, just like that. And then we want to make it, we want the width to go all the way across that container. So we're going to say width 100%, and that'll go all the way across the container. So it goes all the way across the container right there. Great. And now let's make that font size bigger. We're going to make the font size 32 pixels. or you can do 2 rem or 32 pixels there. And then one more thing we want to do here is we want to make it a little bit bolder, the HTML. So it's called the font weight right there. And let's do 700. 900 is very bold. 700 is pretty bold. So let's take a look at what it looks like. There, now it's looking pretty good. We still, this is a little bit, that icon's pushed a little bit too much here, but we haven't done anything with that yet, and we have to get rid of the bullet points as well. But that heading looks pretty good, and that's going to be the same. Once we copy and paste the classes, CSS and JS is going to change just like that. Okay, so that's it with that right there. And the next we want to do is we want to just style the Font Awesome icon. Okay, so let's go to, we want to do the Font Awesome icon, so we have to go where that is. And that is going to be right under the P tag. Let's go to the div that's surrounding that. And let's get a class, and we'll call that stack underscore icon. And basically, we're only going to do one thing there. We just want to bring that margin down from the top, about 15 pixels. So let's go here, dot stack underscore icon, curly brackets, and let's go margin top. And then let's bring it down 15 pixels. And let's see right there. There we go, 15 pixels right down. Great. And then next we're going to do the unordered list. But before we do that, I did not add the, we want to link the header here. So in front of front end stack in the H2, let's just quickly put in an ID. And we're going to call that front end underscore stack. Right there. So great. So that's going to link it there. That also styles it here from what we had before. Good. So now we need to do the unordered list. So let's go to the index.html and go to the UL right here and put a space, and let's add a class. And we'll just call that stack UL, stack underscore UL. Okay, great. Let's go to our style.css and dot stack underscore UL, and that's curly bracket. Let's just do a border there so you can see what we're working on. Border 3 pixels, solid red. Okay, so we're working with this group right here. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of these bullet points, and we want to kind of create a little bit more spacing there. So the first thing we can do is let's create that margin. So margin, and let's go with the margin, let's go 15 pixels from the top and bottom and 0 from the left and right. So 15 and 0. And so there we go. We got 15 pixels. Oh, let's get the 0. So 15 pixels from the top and bottom and 0 from the right. And then let's add a list style. And that's how we get rid of those bullet points. List style, we're going to say none. Great. And then we got rid of the bullet points right there. So you can see right there, it's looking better. We got the 15 pixels here, 15 pixels here, 0, 0 here, and list style none. So one more thing we need to do, and we're not going to actually add a class to this, but let's just copy this, and then we'll do li. So let's just copy this right here, and then let's paste it here. Okay, stack ul, and then li, and then curly brackets. These are the list items, and let's just bring our border here so you can see what we're working with again. And that's the list items individually. So right there, the list items, the heading, paragraphs, links, footers, and much more. And we're going to style that. We're just going to add some padding there. Padding 5 pixels on the top and bottom and 0 on the right and left. So let's go padding. And then 5 pixels, top, bottom, and 0 right and left. And there we go. Oh, let's get that correct. Not 0, but not O, but 0. And that's looking pretty good. Let me get rid of that border. And so what we want to do now, let's open that up. What we want to do, we want to copy all those. I think we used 4 classes, and we want to copy them to the CSS and JS so that we can have them going right across horizontally here. So let's go do that now. So we've got 4 classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and actually 5. But all we need to do is we're going to copy the stack group under just above the P tag. Let's copy that because we need the group. We don't need the whole because there's only one whole. I'm just going to copy that, and let's put that down here into the div right above the P tag and right there. And then let's put that down here right above the P tag for the JS. Okay, that's 1. 3 more. And then we've got the stack title, which is actually in the p tag. Let's copy that. That's the HTML, and let's bring that down here to the p tag with the CSS. Copy that, and the p tag with the JS. Copy that. Good, that's done. And then let's go back up here again, and let's do the class within the div with the class stack icon, and let's copy that. That's holding the font awesome icon, the div there, copy there, and one more. Let's copy that in the JS. Right, the div that's holding the icon, and then let's see. So we got the div that's holding the icon, and then one more, the UL. We got a stack UL class. Let's copy that, and then that should do it. UL. Let's go here. Let's copy that, and then one more, and copy that. Great. So now let's take a look. Oh, that looks so much better. Look at that. Look at that. Now I want to make this responsive. So when it's responsive, when let's say when you're looking at it from a mobile device and it's smaller, it's not going to look good. It's going to start to crunch. So what we want to do is we want to stack them on top of each other, not horizontally, but let's go vertically. And also let's check out. Remember, we have our fixed heading right here. So let's click on features. Oh, what's going on? We're not going to features. Let's go to demo. Demo's right here, right? Let's click on demo. And demo goes back here. Let's click on front end stack. Well, front end stack's not going to go as far because we're at the bottom of our site. The problem is we have a fixed header, and I click on features, and if we look at this features right here, that goes behind the header. So there's a way to fix that, and I'm going to show you that as soon as we do the one more step here. We're going to make this responsive, and then we're going to add one more call to action at the bottom, and then I will show you how to fix that so that when you click on features, the features actually stays right at the top right there. It doesn't go too far here. But first, let's make this responsive. So the first thing we want to do to make this responsive is let's say we make this smaller. Whoa, let's go to this one right here. Let's say we make it smaller, and you see how it's stacking on each other like that? We don't want that. We want it to go on top of each other, not crunched like that. So we want to stack it vertically. So let's bring this back like this. And in order to do that, we're going to use the stack whole, which takes in this whole, all three groups together. So we're going to go back up to stack whole and do a couple spaces, and we're going to do at media, and then space, and then bracket, and then we're going to do max width, colon, and we'll do 650 pixels. So that means when it hits 650 pixels or less, things are going to change. Now what's going to change? We're going to change the stack underscore whole. That class right there. Okay, let's do another curly bracket, and let's just do, I like to do borders so you know what we're working on. So we're sure that we all know what we're working on. So 3 pixels, solid, and let's do, I like green, use green when it's responsive. So let's just take a look. So if I go here on the front end stack, and I make it smaller there. At 650 pixels, you can see it's a green border. This is what we're working with, this whole box right here, which incorporates the 3 groups. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do display flex, because we want to change the direction of where it's going. So display flex, and then flex direction, and we're going to say column. So flex direction column, now they stack up on each other like that. Perfect. But we want them wider. So we're going to do width 100%. Okay, now that's not going to change anything. The width is, the box is 100%, but the inside container is not 100%. In order to change that, we need to change the stack group itself. And that's what we're going to do next. So now let's make a media query for the stack group. And we'll do at media. And it's going to be the same right here. Max width. And then colon, and we'll do 650 pixels. And then let's just do a curly bracket there. And what are we going to change? We're going to change this time to stack group. So dot stack underscore group. And let's just do a border and see what that looks like. I'm going to move that border. So we'll get a space curly bracket and return. And then let's move that border from here because we don't need that border and we're not working with that with the hole anymore. And let's just get rid of that. And I'm going to move that down to here so you can see what we're working on here. Okay, so we changed it. So when it hits 650 pixels, you're going to see a green box. So let's see. Let's move it. There you go. So now we're working with each individual group. Okay, so you can see the green. So we want to expand that. And let's do a width right there. So we're going to do width spell that right, width, and then we're going to do 70 VW, which means viewport width. 70 V. See how it spreads out? So it's 70% of the viewport width, and it's already centered. We centered it before in the stack group here. So let's make that a little bit. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So now we're back. It's a more than 650 pixels. Let's bring it smaller. Great. So it's never going to get smaller than 770 viewport width. It's always going to stay that no matter how small it gets. So it's really easy to see. And that's what we wanted to do right there. That's perfect. Good. And let's do one more thing next. The last thing we want to make responsive are the list items, which is right here, the stack ULLI. So let's go down here and let's do an at media. And actually, let's just copy and paste. We've done it a few times already. So let's just copy here. Make it easier. Copy right up to there. And let's go down here and let's paste it. There, that's easier. And then space and then curly brackets. And then I'm going to copy the stack ULLI because that's what we want to change. So remember, when it gets to 650 pixels or less, this is going to change. And then curly bracket. So let's do that border. Let's take that border from here. We don't need this border anymore. So let's see what we're working with. So we know exactly what we're working with. Let's get rid of it there. And let's put it down into here. And once we go to 650 pixels, you'll see. Ready? Let's go there. So what we're dealing with now are the heading, paragraph, links, all these right here. These are all the list items in the unordered list. Okay, that's what we're going to style. And the first thing we want to do there is we want to make the font size bigger when it gets there. So let's say font size, and let's make that 20 pixels when it hits there. And there, much bigger. It's easier to read on a mobile device. And then one more thing we want to do is, besides the font size, let's text align center. Now you don't have to. See how it's lined up right now like that? I think that's good. But if we do text align center, you'll see what that does. Text align center. And it lays everything out like everything's in the center. So it centers each one like this. So just another different feel. So let's see if I go back here like this. See how it's centered differently there. They all line up together right there. And then if I go like this, and we get to 650 pixels or less, so we're going to keep that. So let's get rid of the border and save that. And let's take a look once more. So there. So we got this. Then when you look on a mobile device, it gets bigger. And I think it looks pretty good. We'll keep it just like that. Okay, so the last thing we want to do is the call to action. We want to add one more call to action here. Oh, and then the footer next. So next we're going to add our final call to action at the bottom because they made it here. We want them to send us an email. So we're going to do that right now. So this is going to be very easy because we just want to move this down at the bottom as well. So we're just going to copy and paste it. So we're going to go to our CTA call to action title and form, and then let's just copy that whole thing. And then let's paste it down below here, right after. Now be careful because it's right after the section. So do it right after the section. And then let's hit paste. So let's go all the way to the bottom. Great. Now we're just going to make a few changes down below. We want to change it just a little bit. Okay, so we want to add again a comment out here, and we'll call it final CTA, final call to action. And then let's just do a couple more spaces there. We're only going to change a few things. So first of all, we're going to change what the H2 is going to say. We're going to say enter email below. We're going to change the H2 just to enter email below to learn how to code for free. So enter email below to learn how to code for free. And then we're going to actually get rid of the P tag here. We're not going to have that in here at the bottom. We don't need that again. So let's get rid of that. Great. And then we're going to change one more thing down at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to change this where it says enter your email. We're going to delete that. And then we're going to just put email here. And then one more thing. And then instead of let's get started, because we're at the end here, let's just put let's go. Let's go. There, and that is it. So enter. Let's take a look on the right side now. So let's go all the way back to the top and click on features. Remember, it gets hidden in the header there. If I click on demo, it gets hidden. We want it to stop right there. So I'm going to show you now what we need to put in CSS so that it stops right where we want it to. Okay, so here's that magic trick. Let's go all the way down to the bottom here of our CSS. And the magic trick is on H2, all H2 elements. Because remember, on the H2 elements, we have the features, demo, and front end stack. It's called scroll margin. And now, what should the scroll margin be? So when you click on features, it's going to go all the way to the top, but there's going to be a margin. So if we go all the way back to the top, remember, we added a height of 75 pixels right there. So it's going to have to be larger than 75 pixels, otherwise it's going to be hidden behind the fixed header. So let's call it 80 pixels. And you can experiment and see what would work best, but I'm going to say 80 pixels because I know that's going to work. It's got to be more than 75 pixels. So scroll margin 75, scroll margin 80 pixels on all H2 elements. And then let's click on feature right here. Let's go in here, features, and look at that, smack right just before the header. Let's click on demo. Works like that. And front end stack. Now front end stack is going to stop there just because our site ends there. But if we go and make this responsive, let's make it a little bit smaller. And let's click on features right there. It stops right there. Demo, look at that, 80 pixels margin top right there, and then front end stack. Perfect. So that scroll margin works perfectly when you have a fixed header. So the last thing we need to do, believe it or not, is add a footer here, and I think we will be done. And that will be in the part 5 video that you see on the screen. If this has been helpful, please support this channel by giving it a like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Happy coding, my friends!